here. So today we are talking about a very interesting topic, and seemingly the single ladies are complaining that my friend seems a bit distant ever since she got married. Now today I will be talking the reasons why.
Life is full of trials, a journey full of experience. With God on your side, all will be alright.
Why do married women seem to be distant, or rather they seem to abandon their single lady friends the moment they get married? Well, there's a lot of reasons why. So I'm going to tackle this question from different angles. Number one, the thing is, you guys need to understand, once a person enters the marriage life, that's a different ball game. It's a different thing altogether compared to being single. Now, a single life, everything goes, anything goes. You can talk to anybody, you can engage with anybody. And then once you get married, your social life automatically takes a 360 turn. When you are single, and let's say, for example, I myself, Hope, where I am, I have my friends, and I'm at this point, let's just say I'm single, I'm not yet married. I will talk almost everything with my best friend. I'm going to be sharing the deepest of the deepest secrets, rather, with one of my friends, one of my best friends, and we engage in all things. If my friend wants to take me out for dinner, well, they don't really have to go through any protocols to ask for my presence or for my time. What is going to happen? They just call me directly and I'll be like, yes, girl, we can do this now. I do not have to consult anybody because I'm single. Well, if you're staying with your parents, then that means you will have to consult your parents and get permission. But if you are single and managing your own life, your own time, really you don't have to consult somebody. That means when you're single, you are available for anything. Anything goes. Nobody's going to give you permission to do certain things. You are not even going to consider anybody other than yourself. Now, the moment you get married, that changes automatically. You are not as available as you can be. You don't have much time to just go for social gossip with your friends as it used to be. Now, your husband automatically becomes your best friend. So if there's anything that you want to discuss in depth, that means you are discussing it with your husband. If there's any secrets that you want to talk about, well, some people would say some secrets are kept to themselves, but there is nothing more in depth that you can discuss with somebody else other than your friend. Well, it depends, like with the issues, but in general. So the moment one gets married, what happens with ladies? There is something called adjusting and adapting. So you adjust and adapt to the new life that you're living. That means you are starting to be considerate of your partner in everything that you do. Reason being, wherever you go, you automatically represent the person you're married to. I know most ladies complain that, oh, now my friend is married, she's not going to be talking to me. Now my friend is married, she's not hanging out with me as much, she doesn't have time. The adjusting and adapting process takes a lot of time. It drains, it affects your social circle, it affects your social life, like automatically, totally. And there's one phase that happens with newlyweds. It's called adjusting. In that phase of adjusting, believe me, it's not easy. It's a phase where now, because you're married, you start learning. Your whole cycle, a whole pattern of life has changed automatically. So you need to start segregating certain things. You all automatically have to erase certain friends. Your social life takes another turn. I'm going to give an example. I have a friend of mine who, when she got married, the husband specifically said, I do not want you to continue talking to this and this and this friend of yours. How does that sound? I know to many people it sounds like, well, that's too controlling, but let me explain this to you. There's a scenario that everybody seems to forget. When you are single, not yet married, you have friends. I had friends, and believe me, I'll discuss certain things up to certain levels, like certain depth. Even when I quarrel, when you quarrel with your boyfriend, you probably share these things with your friend. Now, that boyfriend then becomes your husband. You cannot be discussing everything about your husband's weaknesses with this friend of yours anymore. Reason being, there's a certain level of respect that comes with it. There's a certain level of exposure that you don't need to have. There's a certain level of secrecy that you start building with your own husband. And with women, most of the time, it seems like my friend is now distant. She's not sharing issues with me anymore. And then the other scenario when it comes to these friendships, let's say when you're dating, people discuss anything and everything when they're dating. I know a lot of people who are in relationships right now, they discuss about their friends. Like, let's say my friend does 1, 2, 3, and then I happen to discuss that with my boyfriend. Now, if I and my boyfriend then transition to being husband and wife, that means my boyfriend already knows about my friends. And whilst we were talking and whilst I'm busy discussing about my friends and exposing some of my friends' weaknesses, my boyfriend then is already taking notes that, so that is a good friend, that is a bad friend. And then when I then transition into marriage, because of the idea of the home that my husband wants us to build, or the idea of the marriage institute, of how safe we want our circle to be, of how safe our social circle will be, you will then get your husband automatically telling you that I do not want you to talk to A, B, and C, or I want you to distance yourself with A, B, and C. Now, the thing is, when I was talking to a lot of single women, they were telling me that, Hope, that sounds like that man is controlling. It sounds like that man is overpowering, like taking away your certain freedom. You have a right to your social life. Then I said, hold on. Ladies, give me your attention now. Picture this in the other way. If you get married to your boyfriend and then now he then becomes your husband, would you like him to still maintain his single bachelor lifestyle that he was doing when he was with his boys? I don't think so. And as you are dating, you don't have much control over who your husband talks to, or who your wife talks to, or who your wife befriends. Some people tend to not be that vocal when it comes to where they stand in regards to their partners relating with somebody else. And you'll be actually taking notes whilst you're courting in courtship and whilst you're dating, that that friend is a bad friend. I wouldn't want that friend to come into our marriage or to meddle into our marriage, because the influence that friend has over my partner is not something that I would want us to build a home on, or that I would want that person to get into any kind of social circles within. What happens when you get married? You are starting to build a home. You are starting to build. So that means rules apply in that marriage. There are certain rules. I know of couples that have decided to say, we do not befriend anybody who doesn't go to church. It's their choice, it's their life. So automatically, this friend of yours that's now gotten married is not going to come back to you and say, listen, we have discussed, me and my husband, that for the betterment of our marriage, we will not be associating with anybody that drinks alcohol or that clubs. We are detoxing bad energy. Nobody's going to come back and tell you that, because it's going to hurt your feelings. But what will they do instead? They distance themselves. So what am I saying? The single ladies who have been left need to understand that in the institute of marriage, a whole new set of rules kicks in. Now, there are friends that you can still keep close, but you keep them close and you don't share as much. And then the moment you stop sharing, they start thinking that, oh, Hope is being distant or my friend is being distant. No, honey, nobody's being distant. I'm adjusting. I'm adapting, you know, to the institute of marriage. So yeah, marriage does affect a lot of social circles. So the other thing is about time. Like I've discussed about the relationships. Now I'm discussing about time availability. Let me tell you, when you're a single girl, you can do anything at any time. The moment you get married, well, it depends with certain availability of your time and certain relationships and certain marriages. I mean, it depends. Some people are very open and relaxed to say, listen, anything goes. You do whatever you see fit. You just announce to me. But then in traditional marriages and in the proper channels, husband has to consult the wife or let the wife know what they are about to do and what they're doing. And they do things in agreement. In agreement. That means if I am supposed to go and see my friend, and apparently my friend's appointment is going to affect what's happening in my home, in my marriage, I am not going to sacrifice my home and my marriage for the friend's appointment. I will consider what is the best in the situation. Now, the consideration is going to be based on what I value most or where I'm needed most. Well, this scenario depends, guys. I'm just saying it depends. If your friend is sick, I'm not saying go and abandon them or in that context. No. What I'm saying is, let's say I have to attend a party, my friend's party. You need to understand. Then there's a need that then happens in my marriage. Let's say, for example, couples do fight. Let's say we fight and then me and my husband fight and then we are in the reconciliation phase on that day when I am supposed to go and show up on at my friend's birthday party. Of course, it's not going to be advisable for me to just abandon this needful situation in my home to go for a birthday party because I'm neglecting a problem that's going to be a bigger problem. Yet, on the other hand, my absence at my friend's birthday party can still be substituted by me explaining to my friend that, hun, something came up, I cannot show up. Now, my friend must understand that my friend cannot just show up. So this is like a wake-up call to people, to other single ladies who, when your friend then transitions to marriage, you guys need to understand. You need to understand. A lot of untold things, esoteric things do happen in the institute of marriage, which your friend is not going to be able to come back and tell you that, girl, that day when I didn't show up, this and this was happening in my home, or I had these issues with my mother-in-law. Nobody's going to come and tell you in depth what is happening. So you need to understand that time, as soon as somebody marries, they transition. Okay, time availability, it's a gamble, guys. It's a gamble. You as a single person, you need to start now being very understanding that you fitting into a married person's program, because there's a lot of things that goes on. And of course, in the first year of your friend being married, guys, allow them to adjust. Give them time to adjust. Don't start feeling abandoned by your friend and you're like, now my friend is married, so they are distant all of a sudden. Okay, so point number 3, what you guys need to understand. The institute of marriage affects the way you think, the way you take things, because now it's 2 people who have come together to build a life. That then means there's building that happens in marriage. Husband and wife build each other. And part of that building means there are certain habits that need to drop. Certain habits that this couple, they need to work on together. They need to start gelling. They need to start getting used to each other. They need to start getting used to living together, depending on each other. That doesn't happen in one day. That happens over a period of time. And that process is not easy. The process of starting to live together as a couple, it's not easy. It is very interesting, I must say, but it comes with its own fair challenges, you know what I mean? So now, some of those challenges can be very emotionally challenging, number one. Number two, they can be very what can I say? They can be mind triggering, right? Now, remember when I was single, if anything happens, let's say in this relationship, I could literally pick a call and say, listen, girl, you know this boy, what he did, hi, bo, you know, I can talk like that to my single friend. When I was single, I would expose some of those things. But now that I'm married, it's not every fight that I'm going to pick up a call and start saying to my friend, listen, you have to choose the friends that you talk to about certain things. And also you can even evaluate and see. I mean, everybody knows from their social circles before you get married and now when you get married, you know who is bad for your relationship and who is not. And with women, we even know that this one, if I keep this one close to my marriage, it's going to be a disaster. People know. And even us as wives and then other women, you can tell that if this boy keeps on playing with my husband when we are now married, it's going to be a problem, because the influence the person comes with is just bad energy. It's not energy that you can build a home on. So now you need to understand that adjusting and that level of conversation, it's gonna change. Because I'm now married, the level of conversation is gonna change. The other thing I noticed is it will be easier from my single friend to tell me what is going on in her relationship than me as a married woman to tell her what is going on in my relationship, like at every tiny little bit of a heart attack. I would want to start seeking counsel from those who have walked the journey before me. That means I'm going to start talking to my counselors about my problems in marriage. So I'm not going to be sharing much of my issues with you. Now, with all this transitioning that's happening, of course, my single friend is going to start feeling like, Hope, listen, you are being distanced. So I'm pleading to all single ladies who, when they're married, friends seem like they're distant. Guys, the transition phase takes a lot. And that transition phase means that I'm not going to be available much to conversate. I'm not going to be available much to have certain time. But after that transition phase and adjusting, you will see friends start becoming, more available. The flakes are dropping off. Your friend is adjusted. You now start seeing more frequent phone calls. Just embrace them and welcome them. Don't start feeling neglected now that, oh, because she's married, she's no longer going to talk to me. A transition phase in marriage, guys, transitioning from being single to being married. It's never easy. It's never easy. That transition phase, a lot of stages are involved in that transition phase. Number one, who you talk to. I mean, I know of couples who were very socially active on social media before they got married. But because after sitting down now when they're married and they evaluated what the social media is doing to their own lives, the influence social media has, they've decided that no social media in our marriage. And they don't do social media. They have basic social media platforms like just Facebook, WhatsApp, because it works for them. They know their history, they know their life. So now that then means, of course, you're not going to see them posting on Facebook, on Instagram. Don't you then go and start thinking that, oh, I think there's trouble in their marriage. Why are they not posting? They have made rules in their marriage. So you as a single friend who has been left out, don't then start getting affected. Like I'm going to talk about tagging each other on Facebook and social media. I know of some couples who decided that, listen, if anybody tags you, don't accept their tag. You only tag me, I tag you. That's what works for them, So you guys who are not yet married, you need to understand rules in marriages apply differently based on people's activities. I know of a friend of mine, she used to like posting a lot before she got married. But now listen, she would post in her own dressing, in her own type of dressing that would not give a certain wrong image. And the boyfriend then, which is now the husband, was very happy. He used to even like, he used to even comment. But when the moment they got married, the husband said, listen, those posts that you used to post on Instagram, they need to stop. If you're posting something, you need to make sure you're dressed appropriately. You need to make sure those are the rules. Then I don't think, as a friend now who's single, you should then go out there and start saying, but why hey, now these days you have posted, you're posting differently now, your outfits, you no longer look as good, you no longer look as hot. Or you don't have to bring that bad energy, because you guys need to understand the transitioning phase. So it affects transitioning phase from single to married life. It affects even your social media activities. It affects the way you talk to people, your social presence. Actually, it affects that. Why? Because you have an image to protect. You have another person to protect. You have a Mrs. title to protect. I know many people might go after me for using the image figure to protect, but believe me, everybody who gets married, when you do something, the first thing is, how is this going to affect my husband? How is this going to reflect on my husband? How is this going to reflect on my wife? How is this going to reflect on my wife, or affect? You think about those things before you do anything. That is the reality. So you singles need to understand that these things do happen. Now, when you guys then get married, I think you will then understand that, that's why my friend, I was in a position like that before. Like, my sisters even had that transition phase. And at the time, I didn't even understand. But now, when I then got married, I'm like, oh, yes, I get it now. Guys, when you get married, a lot of things adjust. You have a whole new family that you have joined. You need to start entertaining them. You need to start getting to know them. Now there's a lot of habits, there are a lot of protocols that are involved. Now, before then I would just be hope, people at home understand my flows, where I come from, they understand my mistakes. But now that you're married, it's like there's a lot of edging that you have to do. There's a lot of protection that you have to do, because you cannot just be willy-wally with anything. Now that transition phase, guys, will affect a lot of things. I'm gonna say to single women, ladies, please, when your friend then gets married, please be understanding enough that my friend is gonna transition. Okay, she will be transitioning. Really, single life and married life, the demands are different levels of demands, different levels of responsibilities. Now you need to understand that, okay, my friend is married, I have to be prepared. Prepare yourself that she's not going to be available as much. We're not going to be talk about certain things in depth. Now it's going to be an issue of you seek advice from her when it comes to marriage and relationships. Then depending on the bond, she can also share what she's going through. Okay, so on the other hand, when it comes to why women always feel like their married friends are being distant, because I hardly got a response from men when I was asking men and husbands, Kuti, when your friend got married, did you feel like they have distanced themselves from you? I didn't get that kind of a vibe. Like, they're like, no, I mean, we're still friends, we still connect. Men, have their own way of socializing and why they're wired like that. But the reason why this issue or this thing is much of a concern to women is because us women, we're generally emotional people, right? We are so emotional and we cling to relationships. We are all about being loved. So once you get into a friendship with somebody, you cherish it. But remember, the same friendship, we've had a lot of people who've been betrayed by their friends. We've had a lot of people who have lost husbands to their friends. And that's also because of the certain level, we cannot justify that ordeal enough. But the thing is, women generally, when we are in a relationship, we give it all, whether it's just friendship with your girls, or it's a relationship with the opposite sex. You get emotionally involved. So now when that separation happens, when your friend then gets married and that transition then happens, oh my god, it becomes like, yeah, my friend has abandoned me, or my friend has distanced themselves. So we need to understand, guys. Single ladies, please do understand. The transitioning phase is there. Actually, I'm going to leave you with this. Let's say you, as a single woman, you get married today. And your friend, your husband, or your boyfriend at the time, or your partner at the time, has A, B, C, D friends who they're very much of a bad influence. Would you still entertain them being around your husband? Or you are going to be the first person to protect your husband's territory and make sure that that friend stays as far as they can be? They just become friends on social media, but no relating, no boys' night outs. So we need to understand transitioning phase is something that affects a lot, a lot. I know in the Bible it's written, well, in the Old Testament, there's a gap. People, when they get married, there's a gap that was being given, such that you don't need to see anybody, you don't need to visit people, you don't need to, when you're married. Reason being, these transitioning phases are needed. Married life takes a toll. You guys need to ask yourselves, how come marriage is the most wanted relationship on earth, but yet we get a lot of divorces? This is because the transitioning phase and the adjusting part takes a lot. And if it's not done right in the foundation days of your marriage, a lot can go haywire. That means if you don't manage that transitioning phase very well, if you don't allow yourself to go through that transitioning phase, it's going to be, there's a lot that it can affect. So yeah, I hope this video was helpful. I hope it was very informative. And if you liked it, please do share. If you have other suggestions as well, please do leave a comment below. And thank you for joining Marriage in Marrying. I'll see you guys in the next episode, and definitely we will be talking more